Previously on Batman Eternal. What's this? A vision of the future? Batman fiddles while Gotham burns. The Caped Crusader in search of a prodigious pig. A disappearing henchman? A packed passenger train? Commissioner Gordon gets the blame. And what about the return of Carmine Falcone? Is this mob boss ready to don his way into a new criminal empire? And just who is behind the ghosts haunting Arkham Asylum? And what about this stock image of the Riddler and Batman from a 50-year-old TV show? Tell me, Dark Knight, what is the one thing that can solve every one of my riddles, but is the one thing you don't want to know? Simple. A spoiler. Enjoy the show, old chum. Welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, the Last Angry Geek. Oh, DC Comics, what did we ever do to you? You took away our continuity, our history, even our characters. Oh, sure, you've given a few of them back, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Wally West is now black. What? But for every step forward, there's a step back. DC has decided to revive a pre-New 52 tradition and bring back the weekly comic book series. The first weekly series began in 2006 with the aptly named 52. The book was a critical and financial hit. This was followed up by Countdown, which acted as a prequel to the near-incomprehensible Final Crisis. The final weekly series to date was 2008's Trinity. Trinity was better received, but nowhere near as successful as 52. It's been about 5 years since the last DC weekly series. Now, before it launched, writer Scott Snyder set an issue of Batman after the events of Eternal. Thus, it can be assumed that Batman Eternal will tell the story of how those characters get to that point. That issue featured the return of Spoiler, confirming DC's announcement that Stephanie Brown would make her long-awaited DCNU debut in Eternal. But what is Steph's deal? Stephanie made her debut opposite Tim Drake's Robin as the Spoiler, daughter of a small-time criminal, the Clue Master. When Tim quit, Stephanie briefly became the first in-continuity female Robin. So take that, Carrie Kelly. However, she seemingly died. Her death, or rather her legacy, created a loud controversy, as Stephanie did not get a Robin tribute in the Batcave like the fallen Jason Todd. Although Batman would later explain he had doubted she was actually dead, in fact, Stephanie's doctor let Batman think she was dead so Steph could recuperate, and about 4 years later she rejoined the Bat Team. When ex-assassin Cassandra Cain gave up her Batgirl identity, she passed it on to Stephanie, who was then launched into the wildly popular Batgirl series by Brian Q. Miller that ended with the DC reboot. So, while not technically the first appearance of Stephanie in the DCNU, it is her first chronological appearance. So, what's going to happen?
Spoilers.
This is my review of Batman Eternal number 3. Stephanie Brown is walking down a Gotham street at dusk, arguing with her mother on the phone, who tells her to stay away from her father's house. Stephanie knows it's his puzzle night with friends, but she left her tablet there. She sneaks in and finds her dad and his buddies dressed up like supervillains. He's called the Clue Master, and before Steph can get any answers, she's knocked out by a man in the shadows. Rookie cop Jason Bard was brought into the Gotham Police as a highly touted prospect by Commissioner Gordon. He realizes being the one to arrest Gordon for the train wreck hasn't won him any friends. Gordon is afraid that he might be guilty, but Jason knows that the Batman will prove Jim innocent, so he refuses to give up on him. At the Iceberg Casino, Oswald Cobblepot, known herring imbiber, interrogates one of his dealers. She's been letting her brother win at the tables. She begs the Penguin not to hurt him, but he's already fed him to the elephant seals. It may not sound like much, but the elephant seal is an impressive specimen. They can grow to be 16 feet tall and weigh an average of 6,000 pounds. They live anywhere from 14 to 22 years, depending on their sex. In fact, we brought one into the studios to show... Where the heck's the elephant seal? The Penguin's interrupted by Batman, who slams Cobblepot through a table and demands to know what Carmine Falcone is up to. Penguin didn't even know that Falcone was back in the city, as he was the one who drove him out 5 years ago. Batman warns the Penguin that Carmine is the priority, but he'll be back if he finds out they're in cahoots. At City Hall, Falcone and the mayor meet with Gordon's loudest opponent, Lieutenant Forbes. He tells Carmine he longs for the times when Gotham was a police state controlled by the mobs. They kept the order. Falcone asks what Forbes would do if there were a crime war. When he hints that the GCPD might be too busy for that, Falcone knows that they've found their man. In the Batcave, Batman goes over the evidence. There was no gun at the crime scene, so someone must have been manipulating Gordon. But Alfred's found no toxins in Gordon's blood work. Wow, I love a butler who can multitask. Sir, I brought you a fresh towel and a cup of tea. I'm making a chocolate souffle for dessert, and I've done a complete workup of Commissioner Gordon's blood. While there are no toxins present, I'm a little concerned about his cholesterol and would recommend a low-fat diet immediately. I hit people today. Good for you, sir. The alleged gunman is one of Falcone's most loyal henchmen. It's their only lead, but before it can be fully explored, they're alerted to someone accessing Penguin's weapons stores. The gang war for Gotham has begun. At Cluemaster's house, the mysterious man in the shadows warns them to deal with the girl. Cluemaster has no problem with that and aims his pistol at her, but not before she pulls a pin on one of his gas grenades and escapes. Batman stops the break-in he detected, but the thug tells him that the Roman has sent a message. We're the law now. Penguin meets with his cadre of, frankly, C-list villains as he's informed the Roman is burning down his stores of deadly weapons. At Gotham City headquarters, the GCPD mobilizes around Maggie Sawyer to try and restore order in the city, but they're stopped and told they aren't going anywhere. As Batman races to contain the damage to Gotham, he's informed that the GCPD is not taking any action to stop the Penguin or Falcone. The man who stopped the police is Jack Forbes. He's joined a moment later by Mayor Hardy, who quickly appoints Forbes as the new interim commissioner. Despite Maggie's protest, Forbes won't move against the mob. They've got a bigger problem. From now on, public enemy number one is Batman. Finally hidden behind a dumpster, a frantic Stephanie Brown calls her mother. She knows there's a conspiracy at work in Gotham. She knows her father is a part of it, and worst of all, they know she knows, and will stop at nothing to kill her. And that's the third issue of Batman Eternal. We're not even 1/12 of the way through this series yet, and some pretty devastating stuff has already happened. But is this comic certified fresh, or have the comic book tomatoes already spoiled? Let's take a closer look. So far, I can say that each issue has had its shocking reveal moment. Issue 1 showed us Gordon's arrest. Issue 2, the return of Carmine Falcone. I'm assuming the gang war between Falcone and Penguin is covered in Snyder's Year Zero story, but all I know is that in previous continuity, Falcone was dead. So I guess we can add The Long Halloween and its sequels to books no longer in continuity. This issue features the return, or rather reintroduction, of Stephanie Brown. Not a shock, but highly anticipated. She's not spoiler yet, but we've got 49 issues to get there. Here we get her necessary backstory. Resourceful kid, finds out her dad's a supervillain, and discovers a connection to the train disaster. Now on the run lest her father and his friends kill her, it's all fairly straightforward. I also enjoyed Forbes' taking over of the GCPD. It wasn't played as anything less than a ruthless power play, and his ignoring of the criminal element to focus on Batman marks him as one of the series' most villainous players. Too many times the bad guy put in charge of the good guy's character is a wormy middleman, or the constantly giving reasonable explanations character. Here, Forbes is rubbing everyone the wrong way but doesn't care. He's a tyrant, and that works. The art has also been nicely consistent as Jason Fabok drew all 3 of the first issues. I'm sure he had a head start before the book's launch. As we go on, we'll probably see rotating artists issue to issue. Still, Fabok's art was detailed and consistent, never feeling rushed. He reminds me a lot of Ethan Van Sciver, and I can only see good things in his future. What I didn't like was that Cluemaster and Penguin were both meeting with a bunch of C-list villains that I didn't recognize. And that means one thing: cannon fodder. These characters are just there to die or be arrested. I'd prefer they brought in some B-list villains, Firefly, Killer Croc, etc. It really would have upped the ante. Also, Batman was very ineffective in this chapter. He roughs up the Penguin and his thugs, realizes he doesn't know what's happening, and runs around putting out literal fires. I know we're at the start of this story, but Batman's part was pretty much filler. Also, the Penguin comes off a little more brutal than I expected. I'm used to him being the classy villain. Here, he openly confesses to murder, and moments later, Batman just lets him walk. Why was that? So overall, I enjoyed this issue, and I believe I'll stick around for the whole series. I give Batman Eternal number 3, 3.5 out of 5 stars. This might be one to wait for as it comes out in trade paperback form, but if you don't mind a commitment to buy 52 issues and are a big Batman fan, then this series just might be right for you. Until next time, folks, this is Comic Book Issues, and I'm your host, The Last Angry Geek.